In 1945, the world stood in ruins. 2 world wars had killed tens of millions of people. Cities were reduced to ashes. Trust between nations was broken. Out of that chaos, the world created something ambitious. Not a weapon, not an empire, but an idea. An organization meant to prevent another global catastrophe. It was called the United Nations. Fast forward to 2025. Wars rage in Ukraine and the Middle East. Genocidal accusations dominate headlines. Global powers openly ignore international law. So today, a dangerous question is being asked more loudly than ever. Is the United Nations still relevant in 2026? Or has it become powerless in a world driven by force, vetoes, and geopolitics? To understand whether the UN still matters, we must understand why it exists. After World War II, over 70 million people were dead. Europe and Asia were destroyed. The League of Nations had failed completely. World leaders believed peace could not survive without global cooperation. So in 1945, 51 countries signed the UN Charter. The UN promised collective security. An attack on one would concern all. The core mission was simple: prevent world wars, resolve conflicts peacefully, promote human rights. For decades, this idea worked, at least partially. Many people misunderstand the UN. The UN is not one body, it's a system. Key components: General Assembly, 193 countries, 1 vote each. Security Council, 15 members, 5 permanent with veto. UNICEF, WHO, UNHCR, WFP, and many agencies. The most powerful body is the UN Security Council. It has 5 permanent members: United States, Russia, China, United Kingdom, France. Each has veto power. This single feature defines almost everything that's wrong and right about the UN. In theory, the veto prevents major powers from going to war with each other. In reality, it often paralyzes the UN. Examples: Russia vetoing resolutions on Ukraine, the US vetoing resolutions on Israel-Palestine, China vetoing actions involving allies. As a result, clear violations of international law go unpunished. War crimes investigations are blocked. Sanctions become selective. By 2025, the Security Council is often deadlocked. Critics say the UN doesn't stop wars and it watches them. Let's be honest. The UN failed to prevent the Iraq War 2003, the Syrian Civil War, the Russia-Ukraine War, ongoing Middle East conflicts. In Ukraine, Russia, a permanent Security Council member, is the aggressor. The UN cannot act militarily. Veto power blocks enforcement. To many observers, this proves the UN is structurally broken. If the UN cannot stop wars between major powers, what is its purpose? Here's where the conversation changes. While the UN struggles with great power politics, it remains essential elsewhere. In 2024-2025, UN agencies feed over 100 million people annually. UN peacekeepers operate in 12+ conflict zones. UNHCR supports 100+ million refugees worldwide. Organizations like World Food Program, UNICEF, who save millions of lives every year. Without the UN, refugee crises would collapse. Disease response would weaken, humanitarian aid would fragment. The UN may fail at stopping wars, but it prevents suffering from becoming worse. Global problems don't respect borders. COVID-19 proved one thing clearly: no country can face global crises alone. The UN coordinated global vaccine distribution, health data sharing, emergency humanitarian funding. On climate change, UN frameworks like the Paris Agreement, climate finance coordination, scientific consensus building. These aren't perfect, but without the UN, cooperation would be far weaker. In 2025, the world is no longer unipolar. Power is fragmented. Many countries feel the UN favors powerful nations. Global rules aren't applied equally. As a result, trust in global institutions is declining. Regional alliances are growing. Countries act unilaterally. This weakens the UN, not because it failed alone, but because the world no longer agrees on rules. This is the biggest debate of all. Proposed reforms include expanding the Security Council, limiting veto power, giving Africa, India, and others permanent seats. But here's the reality. Any reform requires approval from the same powers who benefit from the current system. Change is possible, but politically extremely difficult. The honest answer is complicated. The UN is weak at stopping wars between major powers, politically constrained, often slow and bureaucratic, but it is also essential for humanitarian aid, critical for global cooperation, a platform where diplomacy still exists. Without the UN, there would be no global forum at all. Power would replace law entirely. The UN doesn't create peace by itself, but without it, the world would be far more dangerous. The United Nations is not obsolete. It is imperfect, limited, and politically constrained, but it remains necessary. In a world drifting toward chaos, even a flawed platform for dialogue is better than silence. The real question isn't, is the UN still relevant? The real question is, can the world afford to lose it?